This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not medical advice. Please consult a qualified healthcare professional before making any health or lifestyle changes. Welcome to the Happy Healthy Her podcast, your go-to space for real talk, inspiration, and laughter as we navigate life as a woman. Let's dive in.
Hey friends, welcome back to the Happy Healthy Her podcast. I'm Tracey Male, your host for today. I am a health empowerment coach supporting women facing Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, and adrenal overwhelm. Through simple, sustainable, natural strategies, I help them rebuild their energy, harmonize their hormones, and soothe their nervous system so they can finally feel like themselves again. I'm here with my good friends and co-hosts, Cynthia and Lorraine. Ladies, please say hi and introduce yourselves.
Hello, I'm Lorraine Keim, a Minus wellness coach, empowering women to live more authentically through my customized guided system of self-discovery and self-healing. Welcome, Cathy. Welcome, audience.
Thank you.
And hi, I'm Cynthia. I'm a menopause health coach and author of the Menopause Map book series, and I also host the Menopause Map Minute podcast and YouTube channel. My work is focused on helping women in midlife make sense of their hormones and their symptoms so they can move from confusion and overwhelm into clarity, confidence, and support that actually fits their lives. Welcome, Cathy.
Nice. All right. Well, today we're joined by Cathy Perez, a wellness coach, certified yoga instructor, professional decluttering specialist, and mental fitness coach in training. Cathy supports female social justice activists and mission-driven women who are experiencing burnout and nervous system overload, helping them to restore energy, improve focus, and create sustainable systems so they can continue their work without burning out. Thank you. Okay. This episode is for the woman who cares deeply, but feels stretched thin, scattered, and exhausted. We're talking about how organization can be a form of self-care, how mental fitness supports the nervous system, and how creating order can help you sustain your energy and passion. So, Cathy, welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you here.
I am delighted. Thank you so much, everyone, for letting me be on the show and sharing my thoughts. I appreciate it so much.
Oh, that's awesome. Good. Okay, so for anyone meeting you for the first time, can you share a little bit about your background? What led you into the work of supporting female activists and mission-driven women?
For sure. Thank you so much. And so I actually come from an interesting background, the fact that I've actually, ever since I was young, was very interested in health, wellness, fitness. And it was interesting because I ended up actually with the eating disorder in my teens, and then I was able to get through that. But little did I know that through my life, I actually carried a lot of anxiety. And in 2001, I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder. And from that time on, I basically took it upon myself to figure out a way to, better live through what that was like. And that took me through this 20-year plus journey, so to speak. And finally, through my second ever paid coach that I had for fitness. And they were like, you would be a great coach yourself. Like, you are awesome at cheerleading and helping people, because of the group that we were in. But long story short, it took someone else validating all the knowledge I had gained through all these years, not just for my own sake, but to help me. And then I would always tell others. And so it led me to finally getting certified as a wellness coach. So that's how I got here, from myself and I wanting to help myself, but then realizing that I could help others.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's the same story we all have, right? We've all gone through it. So,
Yes.
And I think that's, if you're going to help somebody, it's better that you have gone through it, right? Then at least you can speak from experience. So good. Thank you. So you often say things like, I am you, right? So can you talk about what burnout looked like for you personally and how that experience shaped, the work you do now?
Absolutely. And, I brought up obviously the whole anxiety issue because I've always lived with that. So I didn't know that there was other ways to be. And so once I figured that out, I was like, okay, that's awesome. but the burnout part actually started really, quite honestly, simply because of what we're experiencing here in the US. I'm a US citizen, born and raised in Arizona. And so I became activated, and do want to, bring this up, the fact that I've always been an avid voter. I always, researched issues, blah, blah, blah. But I thought voting was always going to be enough. And on June 24th, 2022, very specific date. So anyone who's not familiar, on that date, the law Roe versus Wade fell in the United States, which meant that women no longer, or people who have uteruses, no longer had its self-autonomy, bodily autonomy. And at that moment, I realized voting was never going to be enough. So I got activated, and I thought I had, even though I knew I'm a woman and I know my rights, right? I felt I had to get trained. So I went through a 9-week, it was awesome, a 9-week reproductive justice training. And then I threw myself and found, through that process, found a wonderful organization called, formerly NARAL, but now Reproductive Freedom for All. And then I got heavily involved with them. And then now I'm also part of a second one, Catholics for Choice. And so it was in that first year from 2022 to 2023, I was already exhausted. Like my first time ever being a real true advocate, and I was exhausted after a year. I'm like, how the hell, excuse me, how does anyone do this for a living? Like, I don't understand it. So it was my actual own burnout that I was like, I'm not gonna make it to however long this is gonna take if I don't. And again, I was already you know, as an acting coach, I had clients and so forth and so on. I'm like, I'm not even living my own,
Yeah.
what you'd call strategies, right? Or at least I was trying. I wasn't, faring so well. So I like, if I'm a new activist and I'm already burnt out, what does that mean for those who have been in this type of journey forever? But I'm like, okay, but I have the health experience. Now let me focus it on those like me who are already tired, but I know that I can help them because I knew how to use the tools I had, implement them, and then now able to help others.
Nice. Yeah, good. And that's just it. When you have anxiety and that for so long, your adrenals, your nervous system, everything is so burned out, right? You
Yep.
can't handle that kind of, I know I've gone through that myself, so I completely feel your pain with that. Sorry, Cynthia, I think you have a question.
Same thing. I'm going to absolutely mirror what you just said. Like, Cathy, when you describe burnout and nervous system overload, it lands deeply for me. I'm a little older than you, so as many women in midlife, where I am, perimenopause, postmenopause, we're not just emotionally tired, we're hormonally dysregulated. So you add that on top of that burnout, right? So when I say I'm absolutely including myself in that statement, right? So estrogen and progesterone shifts directly affect your cortisol, your adrenaline, and your stress tolerance. So even though you're younger than me, we're going to just talk about midlife women here. So from your experience, how do you help women understand that it is their nervous system that's been running without enough support for too long? So moving it from just understanding and having the knowledge to actually living it to give grace to ourselves.
And I want to give you much kudos because I am maybe even older than you, but I'm very happy to say I'm level 51. I say that with no shame, no judgment whatsoever. And
You
I'm
are
probably
not older than me.
Oh, okay.
You're still the youngest of the group.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
But
come on. Tracy's birthday is 4 days after my 4 days.
that's interesting. I might be postmenopausal already.
Okay.
Mm,
Oh, so then you
Um,
have, sorry, I was aging from what you were saying. So I had you at
no,
early 40s. Okay.
no. And that's why I'm saying, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I say that without shame, without fixing anyone, right? But it's interesting that, that you would say it that way, only because I probably went into premenopause or perimenopause, sorry, earlier than I should have. I mean, like, all of us, it's different for
Yeah.
everyone. But based on some of even though, again, I knew about health and fitness back then, as when it was already, I probably did not, even though I was going to a naturopathic doctor and, again, all this other stuff, it was not necessarily my own awareness that I realized, oh, maybe I might be starting perimenopause. And then through these last probably 12 plus years, right? I was like, oh, finally, maybe 5.5 years ago, I realized, oh, there you go. So to your point, I appreciate you so much. But when I talk to anyone, um, whether it's a client or even like, my own family members, I have 3 other sisters. And it's interesting because I always tell them, when was the last time you took a deep breath?
Mhm.
When was the last time you actually drank just some liquid like water? So I help them understand that your nervous system is going to be beaten down every single day just because we are, who we are. We're females, right? But I help women understand, whether again, client or otherwise, that how you decide the choices you make on a daily basis, they don't seem incrementally helpful, or they don't seem incrementally important, but
Right.
the overall effect is that your nervous system, by the time you're trying to get to bed, whatever, whether it's daytime, nighttime, wherever you have that long sleep of yours, if you haven't set yourself up for that sleep, the whole process of your waking hours, you're not going to regulate your nervous system and you're not going to get to bed. So I tell them it's as simple as realizing what type of choices did you make in the day, and not making them feel bad about it, but just asking them, if I could show you, or if you can list to me what you did today, and then I'll let you know how that might have affected what's going to happen when you go to sleep. That's what I always tell them, is that your nervous system is going to dictate how well you deal with life in general, but how you're going to get the rest you need. I don't know if that answered the question so well, but
It did,
That's
because
nice.
it's around awareness, right, Cathy?
Yeah.
yeah.
And you're like every other woman, which is why coaches in midlife right now are so important, whether you're focusing like I'm on menopause or nutrition and movement or mindset wellness. It is because we aren't being informed. Like, you didn't know you were in perimenopause. Why didn't you know? You're in the
Right.
United States. You had a doctor. Come on. So our work is very important, but just what you said, you're very right. From the moment you wake up to the moment you want to go to sleep, every choice has a cause and effect. And as a coach, what you're saying is you help them to lay it out, and then you find the roadblocks, right?
Yeah.
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 And it's not
Beautiful.
about shaming, right? None of us are here to just tell
No.
someone, no, you're doing this wrong. No, it's about what's going to fit best in that person's lifestyle. And then what type of little tweaks could they possibly be guided towards? They're not going to accept everything you say or ask of them,
No.
but they are
And
going to do their best.
Yeah.
exactly. And we don't know what we don't know. Right. So
Yep.
if you point something out and you're like, you just look that little tweak, like, oh, I never even thought of that. And then boom, you're sleeping like a baby. Right. So like,
Oh,
who
yes.
knows?
The goal. The
Right.
goal.
Yeah. The goal. Yeah. I'll
Well,
probably be in diapers before I get no, Karen.
It sounds like what we're really talking about here, the heart of this conversation, is sustainability. That's what we all are trying to do.
Yes.
Women supporting women, learning to recharge, learning to be aware of your symptoms, really paying attention to yourself, and remembering that you don't have to sacrifice yourself to live with purpose.
Right.
Whatever the purpose is, and we all have our own different purposes, our missions that drive us, we need to remember that we're the engine, we're the heart, we're the flame, and we don't want that to go out. So it's really important that we pay attention and take care of ourselves.
Yeah. Beautifully
Exactly.
said.
And our nervous system is our engine, right? If it gets burned out, you're done. So you
You're
gotta,
done.
so important. Very good. Thank you. Good, good. All right. So, Cathy, when people hear the word organization, they often think of pressure or perfection. How do you define organization in a way that actually supports the nervous system?
I can get with that because I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Oh, yes.
So
Well,
I felt that.
yeah, right.
That question.
Ah,
Definitely the way I put it, is that in my world, organization basically means how can someone stay in the flow state? as long or as often as possible, or get to that flow state as often as possible. And that then in turn tells your nervous system, I am safe.
Yes.
What do you do throughout your day, your waking hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
That support the nervous system to feel safe, because that is when you will be in flow state more, or reach flow state more often.
Right. That's perfect. And it's those, again, those little things. Look around your room, right? Look at 3 or 4 things. Look, just name it, and it sets your nervous system, lets it know, okay, I'm indoors, I'm safe. There's no tigers tearing me, chasing me down the street, right? So, yes, or the deep breathing, or just, yeah, you just take a moment. Only takes 2 minutes, right? If that. So, good, good.
That was a
So,
really good point, Tracy, because when you hear the sentence with nervous system and safe in there, people would automatically think unsafe, right?
mm,
And so
yeah,
sitting in your office, you're going, well, of course I feel safe. That's different. Your nervous
yeah,
system doesn't know.
nope, because you
It's
just had a
how you
stressful call. You just had,
exactly
yeah,
how you're
yeah,
responding to it is what your brain thinks is real,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Not
It's
only
so
that,
true,
not
so true.
everybody's office feels safe to them.
Oh,
Like my office is so chaotic right now. I feel like I'm going blind. You can't see because everything's so cluttered. So you have to take that time to make your space
yes,
safe and comfortable and organized in your own way, the way that
yeah,
makes you feel safe
yeah,
and is an expression of the way that you work and the way that you create. So I'm
yeah.
glad that
It's
we're
so true,
thinking
right?
that,
Yeah.
right.
You sit in a cluttered, crazy mess, your brain is
Right.
cluttered and crazy. Yeah, it's just,
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely.
And it's a low grade stress.
It
We
is.
really don't recognize that. We don't
Yeah,
recognize that low grade, you know,
yeah,
constant stress and anxiety, and we don't recognize it. We just
no,
know we don't feel right, or we don't feel like creating, we can't think. We
yeah,
think that we've got brain fog, but we
yeah,
don't. We just have a fog of papers everywhere,
that's right.
and so we
Yeah,
need to do something a little bit more tidy
yeah.
to think,
Yeah. And it's those things that aren't obvious. Like stubbing your toe, you know you stubbed your toe. It's in your face, like, ah. But anything that's that low grade is happening and it's making you sick and you don't even, it's quietly hurting you, right? So it's that low grade stuff you have to be so aware of and careful about. Good, good, good. All right. So, Kathy, why do you think burned out women often resist organizing, even when they know something needs to change?
I totally agree with what Lorraine actually inputted, in the fact that she said that, you need to figure out what's like situation works for you, what setup works for you, right? To help you in that flow state. And with our brains, unfortunately, they want to presume, right, for homeostasis reasons, that comfortable means safe. Well, that's
Mhm.
not always the case. So to Lorraine's point, yeah, it's wonderful to, set up whatever you need to set up and put it in the right order for you. And I don't like to use but and remember that there are always lessons you're learning, right? You're always learning how to become a better you. And so
Yes.
when I am talking to women who are on the edge of like, and they're like, no, really, how am I supposed to, like, why do I need to organize? I will tell them, when you tell your brain that you are safe, it will believe you,
Mhm.
but there can't be distractions
Right.
to dispute that thought.
Yes. So,
So when you decide that you are willing to make a few small changes, as we start the process, so to speak, that resistance will go lower and lower, because organizing in itself, right?
mhm.
It's not about, you're not being chased by the quote unquote, woolly mammoth. All you're doing is putting something in a different location, and your brain has to get used to that new location.
Yeah.
So it's not about changing everything at once. I mean, I can let that happen, but for that burnt out person resisting the actual purpose of organizing, you just got to train your brain through mental fitness how to recognize that something is not a threat, or at least tell your brain, oh, I recognize this, it's different, but I'm okay with it. So should you.
Right. Yeah, I like that. And then even like I find with myself, again, being the burned out, overwhelmed perfectionist story I was really much so. Oh, when you get like say a junk room or your office, is a mess. You don't have to, like you say, you don't have to do it all. And it stops you. It makes you like, I don't know where to start. I can't. Just take one little corner and clean that. And then tomorrow, take another little corner and clean that. And then all of a sudden, by the end of the week, hey, you got a beautiful clean room. Your brain is good. Your overwhelm is done. Right?
And it can
Ah,
even be smaller than that. It doesn't even need to be a whole corner.
whatever.
Sometimes you just put one piece of paper away where
Yeah.
it belongs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that can be like a major victory for your
Yeah.
brain and for your
Yeah.
nervous system. So small changes not only help us with that, but they help us to learn. As we're making these micro changes, our brain is learning. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is what helps. This isn't really making a difference. And it can help to rewire our subconscious because our subconscious is the part of us that is constantly, I won't say lie, but it is constantly fibbing to us because it's trying to protect us.
Yeah.
It's trying to keep us safe. And so those little micro changes that help us to learn and organize a little better are sending signals to our subconscious to help rewire it just slightly
Yeah.
so that we can get closer to what's really helping us and
Yeah.
making us feel safe.
Nice. Very good.
One
Yeah.
one thing I've noticed personally and with the women I coach is that clutter doesn't just feel annoying anymore in midlife. It actually feels threatening to the
Mm.
nervous system. Like
Yeah.
when estrogen drops, our brain loses some of its buffering capacity.
Mm.
So visual noise, decision fatigue, unfinished tasks feel louder and heavier than they used to. So Cathy, how do you help women start organizing in a way that calms the nervous system instead of triggering overwhelm or shutdown?
Interesting question. Um, to Lorraine's point, I would definitely say that the way obviously is not to, I mean, how I help, I have a very specific organizing system that I use, but I break it up into smaller parts. And it's so important that they realize, okay, I'm going to start this process of organizing in a very specific way, even to the point where our folding our articles of clothing is specific, the colors. I mean, it can be that, it doesn't have to be, but it can be that specific. But the calming aspect, when I tell them, once you start this, your brain will actually want this.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because the wins, what Lorraine was saying, it's about every single little action taken. You get to absolutely give yourself that win. Tell yourself, I just did that. And it doesn't matter if it's as simple as putting something back on the hanger or
Yeah.
putting a piece of paper away. That's a win. So the more you tell your brain, and this is the calming part, the more you tell your brain, I've put this away, or this has gone in its home.
Mm.
That's calming your brain. Again, it's telling your brain you are safe. It's okay to put this item wherever you're going to put it or to rearrange at this point. So the little wins aren't little. They're astronomically important. We've just been taught all of our lives that little doesn't mean anything important. No, actually, that's how we learn. That's our brain's actual function of learning. Those neurons don't become long, and they take over 67 days to even create a very sustainable habit. So it's a remarkable way to realize I'm telling you as your coach that as my client, you get to celebrate every single win.
Yes.
And I don't think that scares them so much, but they just don't believe it that that's going
Right.
to matter. So that's the part that actually they have to calm themselves to realize that every step they take matters. And it doesn't matter how insignificant it may feel. I hope that helps.
Yeah,
It does.
absolutely. Right. And we don't celebrate ourselves enough, right? We beat ourselves up. We put ourselves down. So we should like, hey, yay, I put myself away, right? Tap on the back. Yay, me. Whatever, right?
And it's
Yeah.
important to note that our wins aren't the same.
No.
For one person, they might not feel a win unless the whole office is clean or the whole desk is clean or, 10 papers are put away. But to someone else, one item on the hanger, one paper put back in its place is a major win for them. And so there should be no judgment about, your wins, and that's what we do. We beat ourselves up. Oh my gosh, I didn't clean my entire office today, so therefore I failed. Even
Yeah.
if we did half of it, or even if our desk is clean or whatever. And we must change that kind of we're sabotaging ourselves before we get started.
Yeah.
We need to break it down to that place where our nervous system calms down, our brain feels safe, and we can feel the win.
Yes, yes, exactly. And stop. I think when you're saying that, a lot of people compare themselves to other people, right? It's like, well, Lorraine did the whole room. I only got this done, so I suck, right? It's like, you don't compare
Right.
yourself, right? Just you got to follow your own truth, your own stuff. So,
And we're the ones that we fail ourselves. We tell ourselves, I'm going to clear my entire desk and I'll feel.
yeah,
And then when we don't, then
yeah,
we set ourselves up to feel shame and
yeah,
everything. So it's up to us to think on that smaller scale. And then if I tell myself, okay, I'm putting one thing away, and then I put three away,
yeah,
then we can really feel accomplished. Sorry,
yeah.
Tracey.
No, no, I love that. No, that's exactly true. That's perfect. Perfect, perfect. Good, good addition there. Good. Okay. All right, Cathy, you talk about having a mental fitness operating system. So, can you explain what that means and how it supports focus and emotional resilience?
Absolutely. So I am still working on becoming a positive intelligence certified PQ coach. And they have the proprietary operating system that I was talking about, the mental fitness operating system. And it's through an app. But more importantly, it really is what you would call an operating system in the fact that regardless if you use the app after you've gone through the 7 weeks of the actual, what I would call coaching training part of it, you can use this system automatically. Like it's part of our brain, right? But now that we know how to use it, that can help us focus, right? And keep us emotionally regulated. And so that system, that mental fitness that we want, it's made up of three core muscles. And muscles meaning number one, we can actually hear and realize that our saboteurs, which there are 10 total, 10 saboteurs that are actually subconsciously running our brains and telling us that, no, we have to stay this way. And that's not always the way we should stay. So that's the first muscle, saboteur and receptor. Even realizing most people go their whole lives not realizing that those saboteurs have been running their lives, right? And then the second muscle that we want to build up is the sage. So there might be 10 total saboteurs, but there's only 5 necessary sage powers that help us. And all of us innately have these, okay? The saboteurs were made because as children, right, as little toddlers and little people, we don't have those filters automatically. And so the saboteurs are there to keep us safe at some point in our life. But as we grow, we learn to get those filters. And unfortunately, those saboteurs, they're in our subconscious, right? So first, you saboteur and receptors core muscle number one. Then the sage, realizing I can drop into sage. I notice the saboteur, now I'm going to drop into sage. And then the third muscle is self-command. It's not just enough to say, okay, I'm going to be sage now. I'm going to be very empathetic with myself. Well, no, now I have to take self-command and tell that saboteur, you can stand down now. I don't need you talking at me. Just hang loose, all right? So those three muscles create the mental fitness operating system. And again, I use the app all the time. So, but if ever someone said, okay, well, I don't want to use the app after that 7 weeks, fine, that's okay. But guess what? It's now in your head and you're going to fall back on it whether you realize it or not. So it helps, again, keep someone in that more homeostasis that our nervous system wants. Hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so how does having better systems reduce reliance on urgency, adrenaline, or constant pushing?
Very good question. So
Thank you.
I would, in my wording, regarding that actual mental fitness, what you call, if you want to call it curriculum, but more important, just like, as you hone that skill set of mental fitness, it's all about teaching your brain that instead of being pushed, because no one likes to be pushed to do something, I'm going to gently pull you towards this better habit or this better action or this better. So pulling, some people might say, well, no, pulling is not good. Well, guess what? If you're trying to get up a ladder, or let's say you're like me and afraid of heights and now you're on a, mountain being, with other people, I'm not going to look like down, but I am going to be really happy when someone ahead of me is pulling, right? The what do you call it? The ropes, right? Or whatever.
Yeah, the ropes,
But
yeah.
someone is helping me ever so gently go up the mountain. They're not pushing me because that's not necessarily going to help me because I'm afraid to go fast, right? Or someone's trying to make me. No. But if someone's pulling me, they're giving me the option to go at my own pace. So that our mental fitness is dependent on the pulling sensation, not forcing by pushing.
Yeah, that
And
totally
that
makes sense.
yeah, your nervous system will thank you for that because it will not feel rushed. It will not feel urgent. Adrenaline will happen when it's supposed to happen, not on that low grade level that we talked about earlier.
Nice.
I like
Perfect.
the way you worded that
Yeah.
because pulling also sounds like you're getting supported because pulling is
hand.
to
Yeah.
something, not
Yeah.
away from. I'm scared of heights too. So if I'm on a mountain side and someone's pushing me, I feel like I'm going over the edge, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like if you're being pushed off the mountain, right?
Yeah.
And I would be screaming my head off. But if someone's pulling me, I feel like they're bringing me into safety. I like the way you use those two
Yeah.
words. I really do. So that that almost answered my next question because I was going to say, how does your mental fitness operating system or other systems out there, mental or physical, help women step out of that constant urgency loop and retrain their nervous system to feel safe again? Your pull analogy really honors that. Did you have something you wanted to add to that?
I think important to understand is that that's not gonna obviously happen automatically, right? You get to learn that mental fitness, like those muscles just don't show up. Just like if you don't go to the gym, you're not gonna have any muscles. So the very first component of the mental fitness, standard is to learn to even hear the saboteurs. So your nervous system is still going to get hijacked, but the secret is to even realize, well, why am I getting hijacked? Well, because your saboteurs are constantly telling you something. So once that first core muscle is starting to get more, stronger, then the other two start to find their way. But someone might get very upset in those first 2 weeks of the program and say, this sucks. This doesn't work. Hello, how old are you? And how long have you lived with your saboteurs and you're beating yourself up because you don't recognize them? That's where your nervous system is being hijacked. So for the same reason that their nervous system is hijacked when something goes wrong, they're beating themselves up and still their nervous system is getting hijacked. So they just have to understand that this takes time. Nothing worth learning is going to happen at once. And that's the hardest, I think, as the humans we've become because of technology. We're not used to evolutionary type, work. So it's, I hope that didn't delay the answer any, but yeah, to add to it.
That's perfect.
So
Perfectly
true.
said.
Yeah, that brings up for me, we had a show called the Stories That We Carry, and we've talked about the stories that we learn and tell ourselves, and we talk a lot about questioning those stories. Where did they come from? Are they really ours? Things like that. And so it sounds a little bit like our saboteurs are part of that storytelling that we do.
Mhm.
And it creates that survival system that we evolved versus our intentional system, which is what we're trying to get to. We're trying to get to this intentional system. And so I love that you also use that pulling because it's less resistant than pushing. When someone pushes, you immediately brace yourself and you resist very strongly. And even if it's for your own good, or someone's trying to help, or even if you're trying to do something yourself, pushing can feel so much resistance. You got the cortisol rising, you have all of this happening, the nervous system goes crazy. But with that pulling, then you feel like you're stepping into with, as Cynthia was saying, support, help, encouragement, and more importantly, a welcoming. And so that lowers that resistance so that we can get more out of the step that we're trying to take. So I really love that too, that you use that analogy. It works really well.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. You can think about the classic game of tug of war. That's what I always share with people. And obviously because they're our age, right? So most of my clients are my age and onwards, right? But like in tug of war, the winner are the ones who pull the hardest. Well, why would our brains think that the other way is the easier route?
Yeah.
Right? And I always and then when I say it, like it's almost like they had an epiphany. Every single time I use that analogy, they're like, you are completely right. Oh my God. Like then they actually get happy because they're like, I love tug of war. Well, think about it, right? Because you wanted to be on the winning side, and the winning side were the ones that pulled the hardest. Not the ones that pushed. Like you're trying to you just have to realize that it's all about realizing it's okay to push at times, but not all the time. Our lives are not about 100% anything. It's about that 80-20 rule, right?
Right. Exactly. I kind of giggled when you said that because I was thinking pushing and versus pulling. When living where I do in all the snow, I would rather push a car than pull it because as it goes, you're being run over. So that's the only time that would come in handy. Anyway, that was the thought that went in my head. So sorry, completely off track there. All right. So I'm sure somebody listening right now is probably thinking, oh, I love this. I'm exhausted. But what can I actually do today? So I know we've kind of touched on some things that they can do, but could we be a little more specific? Like what can they do to help so they're not overwhelming their system?
I think that it comes down to obviously realizing that, self-care means just that. It doesn't mean taking care of others, right? So once someone is willing to take on their own self-care and not feel guilty about it, if they can stop the guilt long enough to acknowledge, yes, I deserve self-care, I think that's one win. And that stops the overwhelm on your nervous system. Because if you're not willing to put any time and effort, and again, for whatever reason, right, they give you, but that's going to overwhelm your nervous system. So of course you're not going to pursue that. And if you're willing to think of it in those tiny increments, you can ask yourself, here's a gentle doable. How much water do you drink in a day?
Yeah.
And I do mean water. I don't mean other additives. I mean, infused water, fine, but I really do mean like water. How much hydration do you get in your waking hours? And something very gentle can be, okay, you know what? I don't have to drink the whole 2 cups, but I'm going to put 2 cups of water by my bedside. And whether it's throughout the night, if I, wake up, but preferably if I can decide to start drinking, and again, I don't want them to do this every single day, but thinking about having a glass of water by my bedside and starting my day off with that, not scrolling, not anything else, simply I'm going to wake up, stretch my body in bed, and then I'm going to take a sip of water. Why? Because you lose almost a liter of water during your sleeping hours because your body has been using all your hydration to rejuvenate itself. So self-care doesn't have to be absorbent. It doesn't have to take up all your time. It simply has to be, am I putting myself first? That's it. That's the simplest, gentlest, suggestion. And even if you just take that first breath when you're awake, not think about anything else, but simply a breath. Take a deep breath in. I have some type of ease. My gratitude practice, quite literally since 2010, has been I stretch my body twice from toes to my tips of my fingers and back down, and twice. It's a gratitude practice because I'm telling the creator, thank you for letting me even wake up. But also when I go through that little, routine, I check my body. Is there something that's hurting? Is there something off? All I'm doing is acknowledging it. That's it. I'm not taking on the world. I'm simply saying, oh, I'm going to get a drink of water and I stretched my body. I put myself first. That's as simple as it can be.
Beautiful. Love that. Thank you. Love it, love it, love it. So if there's a woman that feels behind and she thinks, oh, I should be more organized. I should have my shit together by now. What would you say to her?
I do not have my stuff together. So if you think that I am perfect in any way, shape, or form, I am probably not the coach for you. And I say that with love. I would say that with the most, empathy I could. I would basically tell them, no one is ever behind. There is no such thing because our brains, hopefully, right, if everything is going as it should, quite literally, it's always going to learn. There is nothing to be like, there's a wonderful quote from Mark Twain that I always think about. And I always get it wrong, but I know it. It's oh, do I have the bookmark? Anyway, it's basically saying, do not begrudge growing old. It's a privilege denied to many.
Yeah.
And I know that from experience because I have a very large extended family. And I know what it's like to lose people who are very, very young and people who are very, very extinguished in their timeline. Or distinguished, I'm sorry, distinguished in their timeline. So for me, no one has ever fallen behind because you can choose on any day. It doesn't have to be New Year's Day. It doesn't have to be any particular day. It can be whatever day and say, I want to be different in some way, shape, or form. It does, fill in the blank. When someone says, I know I should be organized, but I'm not together. No, you are where you are and acknowledge that. And now take the first step and say, I acknowledge I want to be different. You don't have to give a date when that's going to happen. You don't even have to say, this is how I'm going to do it. You just say, I want to acknowledge I want to be different in some way, shape, or form.
Yep. Perfect. Yep. I agree 100%.
I love the word gentle here because so many women listening are already exhausted and secretly afraid of that getting more organized will just become another thing that they're failing at. So if a woman is dealing with brain fog, poor sleep, and nervous system dysregulation, what is one small organizing shift, which you've already given us the water, but that gives her a sense of relief, that something her body could register as safety for herself? Because one thing when you guys were talking, like if she feels behind, like behind who, right? Or if you feel like you're not in the right spot for who, right?
Yeah.
So I think the sense of relief is important to acknowledge, because nervous system dysregulation definitely is something that I think pretty much anyone in the world right now is feeling, regardless of where you're at. That's just kind of like human nature, I think, in general, right? Um, I don't want anybody, client or prospect or otherwise, who I engage with to ever feel like somehow when I'm speaking to them, they feel like they're failing, right? But if someone specifically is coming to me and saying, okay, well, I don't feel like I, can ever feel like I have any type of relief, I would ask them, when you are feeling any type of nervousness, whether it's like huge or the low grade type, but whenever you're feeling simply done, and I think anyone can attribute that to a time in their life, the universal pronouncement for our bodies as humans to relieve stress is to sigh. If I can train someone, and again, they're not going to get it 100% of the time, but if I can train someone to sigh when they're feeling any dysregulation, that one sigh has now told the brain, I get to stop. When you're feeling unsafe, most definitely you're going to think about sighing. I mean, it's a universal signal, right? So it sounds pretty like maybe mundane and maybe not so useful, but something as simple as a sigh. Let your body sigh. You have let your shoulders down. Your sense of relief is now actually on the path because you have acknowledged that something is not normal for you. Instead of holding it in and being this just big bottle of anxiety. So that's the way I would put it.
It's beautifully said. We've actually talked
Absolutely.
about the sigh before. As soon as you said that, I looked right at Lorraine. I'm like, yeah, we
all do
beautifully
that.
said.
Yeah.
I'm a big sigher, so
Yeah,
I
me too.
I sigh loudly and often. And it took a while for my husband to get used to that I am just getting rid of anxiety and stress and, holding in. At first, he was always, "What's wrong? What's wrong?"
Yeah.
But that's just my way, and I've done it for as long as I can remember, even when I was a kid, and I had lots of reason to do it when I was a kid. So, what I was gathering from our conversation was that it seems like the first goal or the first step is to give ourselves permission to care for ourselves. So that's where we start. It's like you have permission to start thinking about yourself. And then you want to say, and it's perfectly okay to learn how to love yourself first. That's really hard for women. We tend not to do that. And I totally agree with the hydration. As someone who feels like I'm chronically dehydrated, it is a huge part of the puzzle. Hydration does so much more than we just think, oh, I'm supposed to get 8 glasses of water and yeah. It's not like that. I mean, it's for your brain, if nothing else. You have to be able to think. And so it is so vital. And what I've started doing, I have this huge, like 40, how many of us carry around like 40-ounce cups of water that just sit there all
Oh, no,
day
I drank
and
2 of
we
them.
don't drink from it? Well, I'm one of them. So what I started to do is I started to get an 8-ounce cup of water next to my 40-ounce mug. And I fill that small cup. And lo and behold, I will take that small cup in one gulp,
Yeah.
which means I'm filling it a lot. But if I were to just keep it in that huge container, I don't think of it as much. So something simple like that, whatever habit will get you to remember that you need to hydrate.
Mm.
And then loving yourself is also essential before we can love others. And we don't think about that. And if we don't love ourselves, how well can we love others? what is going to be the depth and breadth of the love that we give out if we can't figure out a way to do that to ourselves? So I was thinking about that. So I just had a few
Yes.
comments there, just quick little hacks, I guess you would call them, that you can do for yourself first, and then maybe it'll make some of these other steps that you learn about so much easier to figure into your overwhelmed, busy schedule.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, I like that. That it's funny how taking the big one, putting in the little cup, right? It makes a difference. That's good. Very, very
Yeah.
cool. You figured that out. That's good. Yay. All right. Okay, so for this week, we always have a weekly challenge. This week, the next 7 days, choose one small area, physical or mental, where you can reduce friction instead of adding more effort. No perfection needed, just one intentional shift towards a calmer, easier way of doing things. All right, so that's your challenge. All right. So, Cathy, for anyone listening who's thinking, all right, I need more of this, where can I find Cathy? All right. Um, and what support, what resources and support do you offer to people? How can they find you?
You can go to my YouTube channel, Cathy Perez, and on also, well, I shouldn't say all socials. I'm pretty much just on YouTube. So YouTube is where you can find me, and there's plenty of all of it is pretty much free. So it's
Nice.
there for the taking. I once a month at the end of the month, so on the 31st, I always have a live yoga clinic or flow. So people can tune
Nice.
in at 12 p.m. PT.
Oh, cool. All right, very good. Well, thank you. All
Nice.
right. So that's awesome. Cynthia, do you have any final thoughts for today's show?
I do. So, what I really want women to hear today is this. If you feel overwhelmed, scattered, or like you just can't keep up the way you used to, nothing has gone terribly wrong with you. You are still you. In midlife, our hormones change the way our nervous system processes stress, stimulation, and decision making. Things that once felt manageable now feel heavy, and that's not weakness, it's biology. So, what I love about Cathy's work is that it gives women permission to stop pushing, start pulling, start supporting their nervous system instead. So, organization, when done gently, isn't about control or comparing yourself to
Mm,
whoever you're behind. It's about creating enough safety for your body to exhale, to sigh. And when your nervous system feels safer, everything else gets easier. And I did
nice.
start sighing, Lorraine, after we had done that episode with you. And my husband is not trained yet. I still get the, What's wrong? What's wrong? He's not there yet. I'm sighing. He's
That's
panicking.
that's funny. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Lorraine. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, yeah. When we talk about empowerment, we're really talking about women having these emotional supports and tools to live with strength, to live with clarity, to live with wholeness. So I really love that we got down to the nuts and bolts, really. We're talking about systems here. We're not just talking about these lofty mindfulness that nobody knows how to define. Not that mindfulness isn't good, it is, but you need to define it in order for it to work for you. So I love these systems, these organizational systems, these mental fitness systems, because we all need a blueprint or a map or a path for us to follow. And at least initially, until we find that authentic trail that we make for ourselves and keep evolving as we change and grow and learn and everything. So I want to thank you, Cathy, for coming on and giving us a peek into what you do. And I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Always insightful, wonderful. All right. So, many women believe sustainability comes from pushing harder, managing more, holding more, being stronger. But what Cathy shared today reminds us that true sustainability comes from creating enough order and support that our nervous system can finally feel safe. If you feel scattered or exhausted, there's nothing wrong with you. You're simply responding to a world that asks a lot of all of us. So, sometimes the most powerful form of self-care isn't doing more, it's gently removing all those things that drain you. So, as always, all of today's guest details, including contact information, social links, and any mentioned offers, like all of her content there, will be found in the show notes, along with the ways to contact all of us as well. Cathy, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been absolutely wonderful. This has been a very grounding and practical, deeply needed conversation. So
Yes.
thank you,
Yes.
thank you, thank you. So,
Thank
and
you.
friends, if you enjoyed today's conversation and you want more support, more real conversations like this and practical tools that you can actually use, please like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. You just might change their life. And if there's something you're struggling with or curious about, email us your topic requests at happyhealthyherpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd always love new ideas. So,
Awesome.
okay, so that's it for today. And remember, in a world where you can be anything, be happy, be healthy, and be kind.
Thanks for tuning in to the Happy Healthy Her podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with anyone you think would benefit from the topics we're discussing. We'd love to hear from you. DM us with your thoughts, comments, or ideas for future episodes. And don't forget to check out the links in our bio if you'd like to connect with any of us or learn more about what we do. Until next time, remember, in a world where you can be anything, be kind, be happy, and be healthy.